I'm here to talk to you today about uh, socialism. It's been on the news a lot, so I wanted to discuss some of the aspects and figure out why some people like it and some people don't. There is usually when this socialism is brought up, it's uh, people on the right, the capitalists, well, they seem a little bit concerned that there's a growing trend of people that want to bring about uh, socialism, or call it democratic socialism, whatever. Um, and as a response, sort of like a knee-jerk response, they just say Venezuela. They don't present any argument. They just say Venezuela. So that's all you need to say. And I think they're making an unsafe assumption that socialism is the cause of the downfall of Venezuela. But more closely examined, it turns out that it's not the socialism that's causing the downfall. Their downfall, it is rather the authoritarian manner in which they run their country. I think that's the case with the downfall of the Cold War era communist states as well. It's not the communism that was the problem, it was the authoritarian manner in which they approached their governing of the citizens. Authoritarianism is a problem because it squelches the vibrancy of the people, of the nation. If they're cowering in fear of their own government, it makes it very difficult for that nation to thrive. People thrive when they feel free, and they have lots of freedom, and they feel free, and they're not cowering in fear of their government throwing them in prison for some minor political dissidents. Is when you look at Venezuela, they've been blatantly and openly imprisoning the opponents of the reigning regime, and it's obvious that they are running a very strict, heavy-handed, draconian, authoritarian state. And that is the cause, I believe, of its downfall. I mean, it's not like there's any doubt that Venezuela is a failed state. That's a given. What's not a given is the cause of their failure. And I believe there are people on the right, the capitalists, are making an unsafe assumption that the cause of Venezuela's downfall is socialism. They don't. Whenever they bring up the topic of Venezuela, and socialism, they don't even attempt to make any causal relationship, any causal tie between the two entities. The concept of socialism on the one hand, and the failure of the state of Venezuela on the other. They just say, well, it's socialist. Venezuela's failed state, therefore socialism must be the cause. They don't ask why. They don't provide any argument or evidence or any reasoning why there's any kind of causal relationship. They just make that a assumption, and that's good enough for them. But I think when you look more closely, that at say the nation states where socialism has not caused a failed state, such as the Scandinavian countries, for instance, where they've been very successful. I think they've been successful because under socialism, because they have not been authoritarian countries. People have freedom, and once people are given freedom, they are the cause of the success of a nation, because that's what the country is made up of, people. And if they're allowed to live, they usually thrive. If they're allowed to be free, if they're not afraid of their government putting the boot down on them, then people have a tendency just to they live to produce, be productive, and contribute to society, and come up with all sorts of new ideas to how to make the world a better place. And that's what happens. They made their country becomes better, improves. So but it's not socialism that's keeping them down, because they live in a socialist state in the Scandinavian countries. It's because their government is not authoritarian, and that's the reason why they succeed. And I think that could even work with a communist country if they ran it in a non-authoritarian manner. I think communism can work also. And so we need to look at not just make these quick, what is really just a knee-jerk reaction, knee-jerk assumption, reflexive assumption that just because a country has one form of government and that country is not doing so well, that it must be that form of general form of government that is causing the failure of that state. It could be some other elements to that government that is causing the failure, and I think that is the case with Venezuela. It is the authoritarian manner in which they have run their government that is causing the failure of Venezuela, and not the socialism. It is the authoritarianism that is causing the failure of Venezuela. That's all I wanted to say for this evening. Thank you, and good luck.